trying to do is to help people think about ego transcendence in a different way. Because I think if we start thinking about this whole idea of perfect anything, I start to not be sure what we're talking about, because this is, to me, the whole notion of perfect enlightenment as a concept is an outdated model. Because remember, number one, evolutionary enlightenment is we're teaching enlightenment with the context of an evolutionary worldview. So within an evolutionary worldview, everything is a state of becoming, except the ground of being, which never changes. So there, nothing ever changes. Except from that, we're all in process. So the idea of perfection in an evolving world doesn't make any sense, because that which is perfect can't get better, can't improve. And also, so that's one thing. So it's just philosophically inconsistent with an evolutionary worldview. It's also just inconsistent, I think that with the reality of human nature. Because, if you're familiar with integral philosophy, there's the whole idea of levels and lines. We all have different levels and lines of development in ourselves. And so, I really doubt there's ever been such an individual with all levels and lines all lined up perfectly. So I think even some of the most extraordinarily egoless people probably have all kinds of weird quirks that would be a manifestation of the fact that certain lines were very undeveloped, or maybe even not developed at all in certain ways, which wouldn't necessarily mean anything all that important, necessarily, about who they were fundamentally. It would just be, from a purely technical point of view, an expression of what we would call imperfection. And I think that human beings in general are just, I don't think we ever become perfect. There's always going to be either areas that need development, or that need work. And what's important to me, though, is that in the most important areas, we either are highly developed or we're working on it. Because certain areas are more important than others. Some things don't really matter that much, but other areas it's actually vital that we actually develop, and that's what I try and put people's attention on. But I think the idea of perfection, as it relates to human beings, is an outdated metaphysical concept that comes from a traditional worldview, comes from a mythic worldview, which I just don't think is true. I don't think it ever was true. And so I think that's important. I think also part of helping us to mature our metaphysics and our understanding of enlightenment would be losing some of these outdated metaphysical beliefs that never really were true. And now we have the maturity and the sophistication and a deeper understanding and appreciation of human development that enables us to kind of leave them behind, and at the same time be more interested in higher spiritual and evolutionary development than ever. Now the problem is, and this is one of the problems that I'm fighting, is that because a lot of sophisticated people in the 70s, 80s, and 90s realized that so-called fully enlightened, quote-unquote, perfect beings weren't fully enlightened and they weren't perfect, then they went all the way to the other extremes. They threw the baby out with the bathwater. They started to question the whole notion of enlightenment or higher spiritual development altogether. And that has created all kinds of problems, because there are these deeper dimensions of the self and of reality itself that we've been exploring that are of a different order of significance, of importance. And some of you have been talking about there's an atmosphere in here that's sacred. And whenever a human being awakens to or becomes aware of these deeper realms of being, self, and existence that are sacred, we realize this is a different order of existence, is literally a different order, which commands humility, awe, and respect.